Northwest Indiana has begun to see cases of K-9 influenza. The virus has spread quickly in other places. Local shelters and veterinarians are beginning to take precautions to prevent the spread. To talk about it, we have Johanna Humbert, who is the executive director of the Michiana Humane Society. Johanna, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
So they're calling this the dog flu. Tell me about this particular strain of the flu and why it's so serious.
Well, it's a flu. It's a virus. So dogs come down with a cough, with a fever, with, lethargy, that sort of thing. And it's very, very contagious. And that's the main concern throughout the dog population, is that it can spread very quickly.
And there are a couple of different strains of what they call dog flu, and this is the one that we're seeing now is out of South Korea.
This is the H3N2 virus, which is a development off of an avian flu virus. It's the first time it's been seen in the United States was when it arrived in Chicago, and so the vaccinations that they have for canine flu they were developed for the H3N8 virus, and there's some question of how effective they are against this version of the flu.
So this is, in that sense, though this isn't transmittable to humans, it's kind of like the flu in humans. You have these various strains out there, and some
Correct.
are worse than others.
Some are worse than others. This one, the big fear about it is the spread. There's a lot of sort of misunderstanding of it, and there's been a little sort of sub-hysteria about that it's going to come through and kill off a lot of dogs, and that's not really the case.
Okay, so tell us about that. How dangerous, if you have a dog, I'm a dog owner, I don't know about you, but I'm a dog owner. How serious is this?
In most dogs, healthy dogs, they'll be sick for a few days, and with supportive care, hydration, keeping them calm, making sure that they're eating, that sort of thing, they'll recover within a week or two. The probably scariest thing for the humans is the cough, because if you've ever had a dog with kennel cough, it's a horrible, horrible cough, and you'll be hearing that in your dog.
Okay.
But within a couple of weeks, your dog will be healthy again, and having been through this virus, will now have some immunities against it in the future.
But I guess one of the problems with this is that they can have this virus, but they not show symptoms.
About 20% of the dogs that become infected with this version of the flu will be asymptomatic, but that doesn't mean that they're not transmitting the virus, if they cough, if they sneeze, if they drool. And so that's really a concern. And the secondary concern would be if your dog has had the virus and appears to be recovered from the virus, it can be shed, the live cells can be shed for up to 10 days. So you may think that your dog is healthy again, but it's still contagious.
Okay.
So that's really a scary thing.
All right. And so you have to take precautions.
You need to keep your dog away from dogs that you don't know where they've been.
So what does that mean? I live in downtown Valparaiso. I often put the dog on a leash. We go downtown. We go to a coffee shop. I shouldn't be doing that right now?
You're probably okay to walk your dog outside on public streets, but you don't want your dog to go face-to-face with unfamiliar dogs that may have been in places where they would be infected.
Okay.
You certainly don't want your dog playing off-leash in a dog park with unfamiliar dogs. The chance of transmission, especially in our area where there are probably a higher percentage of foreign dogs who have come from Chicago for the weekend, that sort of thing. So you really don't want to risk your dog coming in direct contact with a dog that could have been.
And does it have to... there are a lot of signs that dogs do with one another. They smell for one another.
Right.
Can they pick up something just from smelling another dog or something the dog might leave behind?
That seems a little questionable, but certainly anything, mucous membranes coming in contact with, if the other dog sneezes on your dog, that sort of thing. And the virus, as I understand it, will stay active for maybe 2 days on your dog. So just because the dog that you're in contact with isn't sneezing on you at this very moment doesn't mean that it's not covered in cells that could transmit the virus.
Okay, so if I'm out and I'm walking the dog and we stop at a coffee shop, another dog comes up there, I might want to give the dog a bath when he gets home.
You might want to do that. This virus is very easily contained with soap and water. In the shelter environment, we use a lot of bleach solutions and sterilizing solutions to clean around, where we have a lot of dogs. But it's a pretty simple virus, as I understand it, to clean off if it gets on you.
All right.
But once it's on your dog, if it gets into their sinuses or whatever,
they could very well get sick. And just,
yeah.
I don't want to be alarmist, but I mean, could this lead to death? Has this some of these cases led to death?
There have been a few documented cases where a dog got the K-9 flu and it progressed to pneumonia. And it's the pneumonia that ends up being dangerous to the dog that way. It's really elderly dogs that are already sick from something else. They've apparently seen that in a couple of veterinarian situations where the dog was already compromised and then was exposed.
All right. So you're with the Michiana Humane Society. How are the different shelters reacting to this? Are events starting to be canceled now?
Events are definitely being canceled. We've already seen a few just in the past couple of weeks around Northwest Indiana where there were going to be, a lot of dogs present, and to be cautious, we've decided not to, have that go on. At the shelters, initially there was some question whether we might try to vaccinate all of our dogs, but the problem is the vaccination, first of all, the vaccination was created for a different version of the flu. So there's a question if it's effective. But even if it is, it takes a full month for the dog to be considered immune once it starts the series of vaccines. And so in a shelter situation, few of our dogs stay at our shelter for more than a month. They come in, they get adopted, they're gone less than a month. So it doesn't really make sense.
With all this publicity, are people putting off adopting dogs right now? Bringing a new dog into the home?
No. We've seen quite a few people through. We've had 2 litters of puppies available in the past week and a half, and we've seen lots of people come in wanting to adopt. And we just tell them, particularly with the puppies, don't even let them walk on the sidewalk where you don't know who's been walking there. The K-9 flu is a possibility. Parvo is a much scarier virus, really, for dogs. Their puppies frequently die from parvo. So we really, until they're fully vaccinated, we don't want those puppies putting their feet on unfamiliar ground.
Use a little extra caution, but for puppies, that's probably a good idea anyway. So is this just going to go on, or is it just like amongst humans where you have like a flu season?
It seems to be self-limiting. They refer to hot spots of K-9 flu, the previous version or this current version, where they'll pop up, it'll flare for a few weeks, maybe a couple of months, and then gradually come back down and disappear.
So what you really hear is from your veterinarian or your shelter, or maybe in the media you'll hear that we haven't had a lot of cases recently, and then you know that it's started to die down.
Right. But people should be very aware if their dog starts to show symptoms. If your dog is coughing, particularly has a high fever, is lethargic, you do need to get into the veterinarian and have it checked out.
Good place to leave it. Johanna Humbert, she's Executive Director of the Michiana Humane Society. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.